Hello and welcome to another live stream here. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the recent things I've been placing out there. Looks like we have a slight issue here with the mobile live stream. Let's see if I can. Technical issues. I think it was just an oversight on my half here. So we'll get started in just a minute. I apologize for the delay, but it'll probably take folks a couple of minutes to come in. Got to remember to remove the lens cap on the camera. All right, so this should be working now. Let's try it out. So I'll be going live on Instagram, I believe. Although that one still seems to have an issue, so that may be unrelated. But we'll get going here. Okay, so I'll do a little playing here up front, and then we'll get started. I'll talk about some of the releases I've done this past week, upcoming things, a little question and answer if you have some questions, especially related to guitar technique, improvisation, not necessarily doing requests today, but here we go. We'll get started here in just about a minute. I believe I will also record this for, I may release this as a podcast for folks who might want to listen in the car or what have you for replay. And see just some additional options here. All right, good morning, John Maines. How's it going? Okay. Again, apologize for the delay. I'll do a little noodling here, and we'll get going. Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. We'll talk a little bit about some things that we've been releasing here lately. Just did a video on an etude, jazz guitar etude. So if you haven't checked that out, please check that out. I think it can be pretty instructive. It has some elements on playing that should be really very valuable, and it's helpful to take etudes and work with them, take them in phrases and see how you can maybe gain understanding or gain context to the chord progression. And that was all done on Dolphin Dance by Herbie Hancock. So there, for the most part, we have kind of modal elements, modal moments. We have shifts of tone collections, if you will, that will, or of course modes, that you can utilize to just kind of paint a picture and paint sort of moods as we go. So definitely check that out. And if you have any questions about that, this will be a great opportunity. Going to release this as a podcast as well, so we'll keep that in mind. I think that might be a nice and interesting experience for folks to maybe take some of this question and answer from the live chat and be able to hear, maybe someone here has a similar question that someone riding in the car and listening to a podcast might have. So I think that could be pretty valuable. So okay, Eric, welcome. Good morning. Check in and say hi. I appreciate it. Most appreciated. And John Maines, this is good morning as well. So yeah, join me. Have a cup of coffee or tea. I'm having coffee right now. I've been a little into the black tea lately, though. So join me here. I guess that's a good opportunity to mention the merch store. I have mugs available. One of the students here and regular listeners is really happy with his mug. Got the black version, so I appreciate the support. Just give a shout out to you, Chris. I hope you don't mind. So thank you for that, and it's always appreciated when folks help support this free content. So thank you very much. So I'm going to do a little playing here, and so if you have any questions as I am playing, whether about what I'm doing or anything that you're working at, I'd love to hear about it. So I'll just mute my mic here at the moment and do a little playing. Okay, yeah, so a little noodling there to bring us in. Let's talk a little bit about modes, kind of chord scales, things of that nature. So why don't we discuss, I guess, dolphin dance, at least to some extent. You know, there are moments in that tune where we have modes, and when you're playing, you know, you can kind of explore those. So even taking, you know, a single chord and exploring a sound on that can be really helpful and fruitful to your practice, right? So when you go through, you know, I'm not going to go through a chord by chord necessarily, but we have, let's say, C minor, right? Kind of explore here, you know, let's explore a couple of things here. So let's say you play C, a Dorian kind of sound. So what happens when we go to A flat major 7 with a sharp 11? We're going to have a different kind of palette. So then you can kind of think, well, if we have a Lydian type mode, right, how does that relate to C, and how does that change the note collection that we had right there, right? So if we have this versus this, right? So that's the Dorian versus the natural minor, right? So when you play, try to think about the shifting nature of these chords and chord scales as we go. So there's really just kind of a real somewhat of a subtle shift there that you might explore, right? And then how does the ear react to C minor, to A minor, right? How does the ear react to that? That's quite a change, right? So right from there to right. So what notes are in common? What notes are different? John Maines has a question here. Can you explain how you navigate between different modes within a solo while maintaining a cohesive sound? I've been playing for 33 years, but playing more jazz, watching intently. Most appreciated, John. Yes, so what I would recommend there is see if you, and I think the jazz etude that I released yesterday would be really helpful for this. See if you can connect a phrase between two chords. So let's say you're working at Dolphin Dance would be a great one for this. Take Dolphin Dance and see if you can move from one chord to the next and keep a phrase going while getting the shift in tones happening. So you have, let's say, a mode of, let's say you're using, you're thinking in terms of C Dorian, and then shift to that A flat Lydian. So you know, kind of see if you can run a phrase from from that, and keep your line. Now here's a really, I think, crucial thing that a lot of folks struggle with the modes, from what I can tell, which is you folks oftentimes think in terms of the root, which is good and important. But if you're gonna go and play a line like something like that, and then you're going to A flat, it's gonna sound disjointed. So if you play, let's say, pick a few amount of notes on C Dorian or C minor 7, just maybe 4 notes, and then when you go to the A flat, take your last note that you played and find a note that's a whole step or half step in either direction that fits into the new mode. And that way you have a little bit of coherence, like your or cohesive sound, where you're moving in a linear way through the changes, right? So it doesn't sound disjointed, and you're completing thoughts, right? It's not like a new thought on a new harmony. It's like, oh, we're having this thought, and then we're adjusting to this new harmony, and everything's just kind of going like this. Not to say to avoid larger intervals, but mastering this can be really helpful, to just try to take a couple notes, C minor, and then A flat. And then I play the root on A flat, so you might try to not necessarily avoid that, but try to use roots sparingly. So, you play something like, let's say we were C Dorian, and then A flat, right? So those commonalities and those differences, and then when you're playing a phrase through harmonic changes, work at this really simple concept, which is when you have a new chord happening, or new harmony, a new palette of tones, a new mode, play in a stepwise direction, up or down from the last note that you played on the previous harmony. And in the etude, you can actually see and hear this quite a bit. And then there are some other elements that you can do when you've got that really kind of down. You can start playing or suggesting the harmony that comes up early on a change, which you'll see in that etude. You can also delay. You can stretch and expand harmony and all that. So those are some elements I would recommend in that respect. So let's take a moment to encourage folks to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you hear about the live streams that come up, or any new things that come out. All interactions really do help out the channel quite a bit. So working to spread the word here without a lot of flashy elements or anything like that. I do want to possibly make the thumbnails as attractive as possible, but kind of part of this channel is sort of the maybe philosophy behind it, is to really, in a sense, kind of avoid trends, really try to get into the fundamentals. So focus on fundamentals, and let your personal or just human expression shine through. So I don't focus a lot on licks and and those kinds of things. But I think those things can be helpful to folks. But really, just kind of getting in there, getting into the sound, learning your fundamentals, and that's one thing that I learned. I was fortunate to learn from folks, some really great teachers and musicians. I took double bass lessons from Steve Novosel many years ago, and he really emphasized, fundamentals, master your fundamentals. And so I've taken that to heart, and and I really can see nowadays that really is the avenue to things. I believe so. Taking knowing your triads. There's not really kind of one answer. I don't think that's just gonna like just break it all open. It's more like a consistent working at fundamentals, becoming as well-rounded a musician as you can, and working on those goals that you strive for, whether it's to play at a jam session, record some tunes, or just have a great time jamming with some backing tracks in your music room, or what have you. So I'm here for you. And yeah, so like I was talking with a student yesterday, focus on different numbers of tones, like work on triads. Right, we've got 3 notes. We have pentatonic type scales and heptatonic. I don't think that word's thrown around that much, but 7-note scales. And there are some, even note scales in between even as well. So focus on those things and see where that can lead you here a little bit. All right, I'm going to take a moment to maybe do a little more playing. I'd love to hear more from folks, any questions and comments, and how anyone is doing with the videos and things. Thanks for joining, John. Do appreciate it. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. I did release a Christmas tune this year, which I try to release one each year. I think I have missed a couple years, but I do have a playlist. Check it out. I've got it featured up on my channel page, Christmas tunes. So we featured this year, Christmas Time Is Here, from the Charlie Brown Christmas. I'd love to rewatch that. I'd love to have my kids and family see that. I don't know if my wife has seen that or not. I've been meaning to ask her about that. So she is from the Philippines originally. So I don't know if that's part of their experience there, but I'll have to ask her about that. But I think I did see it somewhere on the Roku homepage. So I'd really like to see that again and listen to that Vince Guaraldi music. I really enjoyed that, putting that video together. Guitar Risi says, love your content. I really appreciate that. Thanks. It's always feels good to hear an encouraging word or statement. I appreciate it. So Christmas time is here. So it's kind of it's a short sort of form, and it's not really super complicated. It feels kind of light and nice, but I try to choose some voicings that I thought folks might find interesting. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about the process on how I put things together and how I oftentimes learn tunes in general for myself. Generally, the first thing I do is start listening to a few people play. That's changed a little bit now with how things come out, but so generally on learning like standards, for example, I would listen to as many singers as I could find, right? Because singers will tend to stick to the melody. The issue with that, which is actually kind of a benefit in a way, the issue with that is that they oftentimes play in different keys than you might end up calling it on a gig or a jam session or something like that. So, but what you can do, there's software, that can adjust to the keys without changing the speed. So those things are now independent, with the digital files and stuff. So you can adjust that in, and then of course, if you play in a lot of different keys, then you know your original key that much better. But then I'll also listen to instrumentalists and how they interpret the sound. So that's a little bit of a word of advice for learning tunes in general, which is start with singers. Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan. There's a pretty somewhat long list, but Ella's really great because she generally does all the verses, so then you can at least get familiar with some of that content. But yeah, so Christmas time is here. I'll listen to a few versions. I listened to, I think, a Julian Lage version, I think. And I listened to, of obviously, Vince Guaraldi. And, but I also checked out what's his name right now? What's right? I can't remember his name. But I listened to a little video on some playing for that. I think it was actually a lesson video, and so I'll take some influence from various sources like that, and then I'll kind of put my own preferences on some things, and then I kind of work it, refine it, and then come up with an arrangement basically. So that's usually my process on that. So hope you enjoy that. It's not super terribly difficult, but challenging enough maybe. I do know that some of the arrangements may be really tough on the channel, so I'm trying to bridge that gap between too difficult and kind of fun to play. But just to get you kind of started on this, and I had a question in the comments when I did this, which I do believe I answered. So if you have, and so if I play this little bit at the beginning here, so this chord is based on the major 7, okay, which is a second inversion major 7, and then I've replaced the 5th with the 6 and the root with the 9. Gives it a little more color. And so some folks on the internet, or just in general, and I play this voicing. This works just great, so go for that if that's what you like. I also found some guitarists were playing this voicing, which is very similar to what this is, just one note different, right? So we have this here, which replaces the A with the C. Okay, so that's a good voicing too. Then here, I think some folks are doing, folks I listened to did the first inversion. For me, I like it, but it just sticks out a little bit for me on this with this half step here. So I like something a little bit, I don't want to say smoother, but a little bit less dissonance there on that. So having this, which kind of looks like A minor 7, in the context of F, right? That's F major 9. Okay, and then this is just very, very cool voicing, the E flat 9 with a sharp 11. Right, so this is rootless, but you know, when you go to study some of these things, you know, try the root type voicings, you know, like this one, and get good at, you know, replacing the root with some tone like the 9. Right. That's there. And then there's some little independence and some things like that I think you'll enjoy on that. So, all right, everybody. So let's do our like and subscribe reminder. I want to also mention that got a website in the works on online. So visit that, fretprints.com. Well, it's actually been around for a long time, but I'm moving it into a kind of membership community that that's going to be starting out here in January. So please visit the website today and click the join button, and you'll have you'll see a little blurb about what's upcoming. It's very exciting. I think I'm going to incorporate something called Sound Slice, which is it gives a very interactive experience on practicing playing things, as well as some forums and what else we have. I like videos, and I may end up having different tiers and things, but I'm going to open this up to folks for free for a short period of time. So if you want to kind of join the pilot program here while I get the kinks out, join the email newsletter, and I will be sure to get you hooked up with that. Okay. Hello, Alvis. Thanks for joining in. Not doing any requests today. And I don't know that tune, but okay. The best guitarist says, please teach me how to improv. You know, yeah, I mean, thank you for asking that question or making that request because it's really challenging to teach improv or improvisation, but that's like kind of my main goal. Uh, so quick sip of coffee here. Yeah, so one thing I would try to do is make sounds on your instrument and make them a little bit randomly, explore it like a puzzle, and try things out. There's this, kind of slight danger in that where, you may end up just being kind of noodling. And in my opinion, I think that's okay as long as you're uh, compartmentalizing your uh, interaction with the instrument, right? So you want to say, okay, am I practicing right now? And there are two big compartments of that. I would say is am I practicing or am I playing? Right? Those are the kind of two main areas. So when practicing, you're doing something really specific. You're working on a specific issue. You're trying to get better at a really specific thing. And like I said, taking two chords from a tune like Dolphin Dance and just getting really good at doing like specific things. Like let's say you're going G major 7 to A minor 7. That's a little bit challenging. So there's not a lot in common there. So, say, okay, I'm going to make a limitation for what I'm going to do. I'm going to limit myself to 4 notes per chord, and then I'm going to go back and forth between those. So G major, A flat minor, G major, A flat major, A flat minor, sorry, G major, A flat minor, G major, A flat minor, G major, A flat minor, G flat, and then kind of evaluate, right? So evaluate what's going on there. But I think with the nature of our interactions with our instrument, it's important not to be too constrained too much of the time. So you might do something really specific like that for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then maybe to stop and take a breather, evaluate like what are the weaknesses there, what is vague, what is really strong, and then evaluate and then come back to it. Take a break, maybe play a little bit, just noodle. But you have to understand that you're noodling, right? So that's I think the important differentiator there. But I think to improv, you have to want to just try stuff. What does this sound like? Try not to only sound good all the time. Try to be like, okay, well, I wonder what this would sound like, or yeah, okay, maybe that does sound bad, or maybe this does sound good. So I think a little just kind of trying stuff. So well, let me get to some questions, but I do want to say like let's say if you're cooking, and I'm not good at cooking, but if you're baking, you have to be really like precise, right? You have to really get your measurements right. So that's like kind of like the practicing sort of thing. If you're cooking, then you don't really have to measure the oil. You don't really have to measure the salt. You don't really have to measure the spices. You can throw stuff and try this, that, and see how it turns out. And it's probably going to taste pretty good. So I hope those draw a little bit of an analogy between playing and practicing, right? So practicing would kind of be like the baking thing where you just really want to get into the details, get into the fine grained materials, where as like cooking a dish or something, you're just kind of trying stuff, or you can do that, right? So got a comment here. I've tried to hit chord tones and just do things blindly. It's a lot harder to play the chord tones and make it sound connected. Yeah, I think try to maybe have a perspective switch on that a little bit, where you say, um, oh, chord tones are consonant and non-chord tones are more dissonant in general, and then just try to get more specific with how scales and chord tones overlap and how they kind of relate to chords. So our musical system, or Western music, it's very developed in harmony. So we want to really connect to harmonic context all the time. So when we, and maybe not all the time, but most of the time. So that's why I say to folks, definitely have a harmonic context to almost everything that you do, so that you're just into the sound. Is this, if you're playing an arpeggio, I would change it from the perspective of, okay, I need to play this arpeggio over this chord. Um, Try to just think of it more in terms of, and it's kind of like doing the same thing, but changing a perspective, which is, when I play these tones that are in the specific chord, they are going to sound fairly consonant. And if I play notes that are in between, those are sound more dissonant, right? So if you have, like we talked about C minor earlier. So if you have the chord tones of that, those are going to sound fairly consonant. And then you have the chord tones, non-chord tones, right? Those are going to sound more dissonant. And then if I play, let's say, an 8-note kind of bebop-ish sort of scale. Now, if you play those, and also when you play chord tones is going to matter, right? If you play, and there are examples of this in the jazz guitar etude that I just released on Dolphin Dance. There are examples where I play actually the dissonances on the strong beats and the consonants on the end of the beat. And then you could, of course, do the opposite of that, which is going to more generally outline the changes. So are you creating tension, or are you creating dissonance? And one is not bad and one is not good. You got to just ride this wave of tension release all the time. So, but if I play on C minor 7 and I'm going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, you notice there that all those chord tones are on the beats, the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So when you play the chord tones, those are arpeggios. When you play the non-chord tones, really matters. So mastering on the beat consonances and off the beat dissonances is an important element to that. So make it sound connected. Mix things up, do different inversions on the chords. Okay. Steel licks too. Licks are great. If I hear some line from a particular solo, absolutely. I would take that. There are cliches in language. There are cliches in music. You know, so um, I think that's good to have something a little bit recognizable too. Like I was listening back to my solo as I was transcribing it, and and I was like, "God, where have I heard kind of that rhythm that I started out with?" And I was thinking back, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of like 26-2, John Coltrane, that be da 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 da." So as you like explore all this music, subconsciously you're gonna develop this whole language that you can utilize, and sometimes lines show up, and you're like, wow, I feel like I've heard that before. I remember I was playing a hotel restaurant gig, and another musician came uh, to hear me. He said, "Oh, yeah, I heard that Matheny line that you played," and I thought, really, okay, yeah, it's yeah, maybe you did, but that may not have been a conscious effort, but these things go just they emerge over time, as you study, because I really had been studying Matheny quite a bit leading up to that date. So John Main says, what's your take on improv between two players, call and response? Say, like when I play a gig with a less experienced player, like two, yeah, maybe two. Oh, okay, got it. You're correcting that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, trading fours. You can mimic back some of the rhythms, maybe even some of the notes. Try to quote that player. One thing I find kind of cool to do is to take a phrase that, let's say you're soloing after um, yeah, the other player, maybe they're a less experienced player, and you're gonna uh, play after them. You know, you might listen to a little bit of their ending phrase, and start your solo with something similar, or something a lot like or exactly like what they just did, as long as it fits and sounds appropriate. The one thing, when you're playing with maybe a less experienced player, is to have them play the solo, their solo first, and then you play after them. So that way they're not maybe as challenged to match your intensity, or what you've done, or maybe they will feel less intimidated. Um, and also play tunes that work at their level, so that they don't get lost, or get insecure in the material. So, um, but yeah, call and response. Yeah, I mean, doing little back and forth. Doing a question and doing an answer, and that can be really great for a less experienced player, because they may not leave as much space between their phrases and things, and may not have as concise of statements in their playing. So yeah, do a little back and forth motion on that would be great. All right, everybody. Well, need to wrap up here for today. So I do hope you enjoy this live stream. Thanks for joining me here. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, this will be our last live stream before Christmas anyway. Probably folks are having a pretty busy weekend, I would imagine. And or whatever holiday you celebrate this time of year. And then I should be back on Wednesday morning, and then we'll have to see next weekend what that has to bring. But join me this upcoming Wednesday, and if you're watching this after the fact, leave a question or comment. All right, everybody. Well, I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great practice session.